Hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown and welcome to a live stream. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, but since I'm starting out here, I'm gonna have to go share this on Twitter so at least somebody shows up here and I'm not just talking to myself. I probably, oops, I should have renamed this. It's definitely not packaging the SysOps associate, but this is, creating the, and you can't see because I'm off screen here, but I'm just filling in the name here. So this is gonna be creating exam guide for Gitpod certification. So in this video, in this live stream, Andrew is showing his process for creating a certification course. For this one in particular, we are looking at Gitpods. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead there. We're going to say save, very good. And now I need to go ahead and share this so somebody knows that they should join. I'm trying to figure out where this is. I haven't done this in a while. There's the share button. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and copy that. We're going to make our way over to Twitter, and I'm going to paste that because I just figured if I was going to be working on this Gitpod certification course, I should let anyone come in and talk to me if they like. So say creating the Gitpod exam, or the Exam Pro certification exam guide. If you want to see how I create these things or want to provide input, stop on by to the live stream. Okay, and so we'll just go ahead and tweet that out so people know about it. So here you can see I'm just tweeting it out, and there we have Bart Castles talking about reInvent, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to take that back off screen here. Whoops, where did it go? Where did it go? I lost it. So we'll go back over here to, whoops, Chrome. Hold on here. And I'm just going to move that off screen here, and I'm just going to pop out the chat so if somebody's talking, I can see what's going on here. And we are good to go. Let me just shrink that. I've never been good at live streams. Just popping out the chat here. And we're good. Okay, so what is going on here today? Well, the idea is that I want to create a Gitpod certification course. The motivation behind that was just because we have in the past used things like Cloud9 or tried to set up our own VS Code server before Gitpod existed. And the motivation there was just to make it a lot easier for new developers coming in to work on our projects. And so it's been a long wait, but now Gitpod basically serves what we've been looking for a very long time. And, I decided that if I want to train up my team, they're going to have to learn how this stuff works. And the only way to do that is to create a certification course here. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm over here in the Discord for Gitpods. And I really should share this over here so that people know. So I'm going to go here to the general. And I don't know if this is the right place, but I'm just going to put here. So me live streaming, creating the Exam Pro Gitpod certification exam guide. This might not be the right channel for it. I might get heck because there is a build and open channel, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know that's going to get the maximum exposure from the Gitpod community to see what I am doing here. And if you are joining the chat, just make sure you say hello. But anyway, as I was saying, I want my team to learn it, and so I'm all about making sure that we have that internal training material. So it's not necessarily that I'm designing this in the sense that I want the community at large to learn this, which I think they should learn it, but it's more so that if I have an employee and I want to make sure they know this stuff inside and out, so they're using it securely, properly, reduce that risk, won't have that issue. And I just saw Lou show up. Hey, Lou. Hey, Lou, welcome to the stream. And you know what I'm going to do? And we're not going to be able to hear Lou, but I'm actually sitting in a Gitpod, oops. I don't have permission to speak? Well, I was going to make sure you could talk to me over in the Gitpod here, but it looks like I'm suppressed in that channel, so we can't discuss there right now. But what I want to do here is just kind of figure out what the layout is. So what I have done is I went through and I just started using Gitpods, and just kind of anything that I thought that was interesting, I laid out in slides. And they're not organized in any particular way. And then I was saying, okay, I want to start filming this, but what should I do? And I said, well, I probably should make out an exam guide and try to think of those components. And so what I've done so far is broken it down into 5 domains. So we have Cloud IDE concepts, Gitpod integrations, Gitpod configurations, Gitpod workflows, and then just the general like Gitpod IO, Gitpod enterprise, Gitpod OSS, open source software. So, you know, I'm not saying that this is how they name it, but that's the only way I could distinguish the 3 or the 4 offerings. And so I think that in the first domain, it's really important to understand why we're using cloud IDs. Like, why should we not just use a regular ID? What is the advantage of being able to determine a context? So, and I'm just talking out loud here so I can think about what it is that I want to put here. So one thing we might say is like, we have to define the benefits of utilizing Cloud ID. So something I think is very important is context. So context-based developer workflows. I just made that up, but that's something that this really enables you to do with Gitpod. So I think that is something that is important to have there. Okay, understand the key difference of Gitpod versus Cloud IDEs, which is really nice because Gitpod actually compares against VSOs and GitHub Works Cloud Spaces. That was something that I was really thinking about of whether that was, someone shared the article this morning. I'm not sure which article that is. Maybe it's the Gitpod one, but something that, you know, I was really surprised to find out was that, you know, GitHub Codespaces allows you to choose the size of the instance, whereas Gitpod, you don't choose the size. You just have something. And I really like that because from a service offering, I did not have to think about the underlying infrastructure. And I never even thought about that until my co-founder, and it was also named Andrew, was like, hey, what size is this running? I'm like, I never even thought about it. Useful article that covers some of the other players in the space, ways to think about cloud-based devs more broadly. And there's probably more people in the space, and I was Googling stuff, but I just couldn't find it. It's just like GitHub Codespaces. I have a slide on it here, if I go here. So I kind of talk through the main ones I know. So there's like GitHub Codespaces, VSO, which I still have to try to write about, Cloud9, Google Cloud Shell Editor. There's a few other ones outside of this, but like it wasn't worth mentioning them. But I was really surprised, like how cost-effective Gitpods is, eh? Serverless cloud. I know, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of put serverless because if you don't have to think about the underlying stuff, then technically it is serverless. So that could be like a highlight there, and I might just make a note on that. So we'll go here and just say, you know, is Gitpod serverless? And GitHub Codespaces is not. Okay, but I really thought like maybe GitHub Codespaces was going to have some unique advantages, and I was really surprised to find out they don't. Do you know what I mean? I thought like maybe there's some special integrations or something that they had, but it's pretty like middle of the road kind of offering. I was quite surprised there. So, but for me, like I think it's very important to have mobility with your workspace, and that might be something that might be a key point that we want to mention here. So maybe we'll just go here, make a new slide, and say like the benefits of cloud IDEs. Okay. And so one would probably be like, so we'll just say context. We're making this list as we go. Mobility, agility. We got to have 5 at least, maybe, right? Disposable, right? Reproducible. What do you think about that? Does that sound good enough for main points for... You can tell like I've done a lot of Visual Studio Online releases only preview. I don't know. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Let me go take a look. It'll take 2 seconds to see here. Oh, we have Vlad. Vlad's a big fan of using Cloud IDs. Vlad, which one do you use? Are you using GitHub Codespaces or using Gitpod or both? Just curious there. And now that you're mentioning it, we can just look up VS Code. I thought it was available, Visual Studio Online here. Let's take a look. I mean, I assume that when it says Visual Studio Online, that means that it's like the full-blown version of Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, but I have no idea. Down below here. What do we get? We get this here. That does not help whatsoever. So do I already have it? Am I in it? Like, I'm confused. No, this is just my dev account, isn't it? So yeah, I'm not really sure how that works. VS Online is horrible to Google for, and I do sometimes full Windows VS and not Mac VS, which is bad. Okay. So I'm not crazy when I say that. I don't know how you feel about these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we say the 5 benefits of Cloud ID context, right? So we say like start a runtime, and this is something that I had to really distinguish was between runtime environments and runtime systems. So start a runtime system. A runtime system. I don't know if it's a talk, it's just me working through stuff here. I'll probably end up doing a bunch of these because I really want to try to get as much knowledge and visibility in this. I use Gitpods. I don't like code spaces as it's slow and pushes users towards a long-lived machine. It's also expensive. So context. So start a runtime based on the context of your workload. So that could be a pull request. That could be a issue. That could be a type of environment, testing. So like testing environment, sandbox maybe. I replaced my laptop with an E2 code space in the cloud. Not much improvement, is it? No, I guess not. I really wanted Cloud9 to be the winner, but like they just never put any time into it. I was so upset about that. I made like a total we put so much time in like a bootstrap or a boot, like a script to start up that environment and set it up. But it's just like not having the ability to. I guess you could have probably ran pods or something on it, but it was not having the flexibility of that environment where you're locked down to whatever the OS was, and I couldn't automate it. I don't know if Gitpods has, I think, automation for like an API or stuff like that. There was one of the Gitpod engineers, and they were saying like everyone should start with an API first thing, and I'm thinking like, does Gitpod have an API? So it's a lot safer. Oh, that's a good point. So disposability. I'm gonna just say like disposability disposable environments can be safer. I know that's not really well worded right now. I won't have any precious file saves, but not committed. That pushes me to actually always stay up to date. Oh yeah, good. So actually always stay up to date. So just disposable environments. I guess you could say that's the fifth one, which is progressive, right? Because it's like progressive versioning. So because of the disposability, and you could say that's under disposability. It's an outcome of it, but because of the disposability of cloud IDs, it forces you to address versioning issues sooner. And I don't know if like you have to do it. Like, can you stay on a really old version if you really wanted to, or you know what I mean? Or is it going to be that thing where the old versions expire and so you have to stay progressive? I'm not 100% sure. So you can launch up a variety of different workspaces for different use cases in parallel. That sounds a lot like context, eh? I guess the idea is it's less about that. That's context, right? This would be more about like the fact that I can be able to I don't have to set up my developer environment. So my developer environment, it's like developer environment is ready to go, and always starts from a clean slate, from a clean point in time. I don't know if that's good there. Again, I just try to get these out, and then I go back and I refine them. So Gitpod's disposables, oh yeah, you said that already. Cloud9 could have been so nice. I know, they just kind of dropped it. EC2 in the cloud, a ton of special files. Oh, I just want to add this line to the bash RC. Yeah, it was super painful. I have a repo. I'll have to show it to you sometime. It probably doesn't matter because who cares about Cloud9 now, but it was interesting what we did with that. Mobility, I mean, this is not obviously an offering of all of them, but in Gitpod's case, it's like I can use it with multiple different kinds of, I'll put an asterisk here, so use it with multiple kinds of VSCs, so version control systems, possibly, which is not necessarily true of all offerings. Or you could say things like works with different kinds of IDEs, right? And I don't know, I'll have to refine this because it might not be good as the benefits, but like you look at Gitpod and they can, like if they're extending to JetBrains, maybe tomorrow we'll see support with MacVim. If they supported something like MacVim, and maybe not MacVim per se, but just like a Vim, not like VS Code with like a Vim extension, but like Vim with like bundle and being able to sell that stuff, this is like blow up big time. If they could just solve that one component, at least for me, that's how I feel about it. iPad development, I don't know. I remember one time I tried using like this is 10 years ago, I was trying to have that mobility and it just did not work on the iPad. I'm sure it's more normal now where it's like more of like a full-blown laptop. I guess that's another thing is that you could do it, and yeah, you saying that, actually you could probably do this on the iPad, eh? Because it's all in the browser. And so that would be in the mobility too. So that's probably what Vlad was saying. It's like you can use the Cloud IDE on your iPad because all you need is a browser. That's a good point. I could start coding on my Mac, move over to my iPod, all connects in the same place. Yeah, I'm going to just bullet that out. I'm just going to expand that a bit there. You're right. So I'm just going to go down here. Do I have to pay Vlad for helping me? it's like, cause I'm going to get an invoice. Use it with multiple. What percentage do you want from the sales, Vlad? Vim is very much on our radar. You can SSH via local companion. I don't know if local companion is like just me clicking a button to go into the thing or for something else. But having a first-class hosted Vim is definitely an idea with toying JetBrains first, though. Yeah, sure. And JetBrains is great. Like, I actually don't mind it. I mean, I had to work for a company where I was. This is a few years ago, but they wanted me to do their iOS development and then their Java development, and I guess it wasn't JetBrains. But it just feels like when you're using Eclipse, you're always using JetBrains. But I'm saying I don't mind that Eclipse-like environment. It's just you got to get used to it, eh? Oh no, you talk more, please. I'm trying to get information. Give me your information, and I'll put them in my slides. I'll take all your information. So just coming back here about the mobility. So use it as multiple kinds of VS Code. Works with different kinds of IDEs. You can use Cloud IDs on iPad because you need a browser. And so like easily move between different stations, e.g. Mac to Windows to Linux. All they need is a browser. Okay. The only thing I would say that might be an issue, but I guess you always have to tie it back to that. But like one issue that I find is like if I want to have a account that is not tied to like a GitHub, a GitLab or something, it's nice to have an email because then I can put in my password manager and then issue it out to people. And so that has been an issue for me to adapt some kind of mobile services. And so I don't know if that's ever the plan, but maybe not. I think we don't have to move between SVN, Mercurial, Git, so shrugs. Well, I mean, nobody does that right now, but I'm just trying to like definitively define what advantages of a Cloud IDE would or should be, whether Gitpod does it or not, right? Yeah, and I don't really know if anyone's really doing anything outside of Git anymore. There's some people still using Mercurial. So these are fine. I'm going to come back to this, and I want to go back to my exam guide outline. Let's just see what else we can kind of fit in here. And maybe Vlad will be like our beta tester for this exam here. So define what a Cloud IDE is. Did we define that? I don't think I've even done that. I defined what Gitpod was. So we'll go here. We'll say, what is a Cloud IDE? Okay, and so probably what I would start with here is, well, what is an IDE? Which I'm sure I've already entered in this course. And then we'll say, what is a Cloud IDE? Okay, and then we might have a comparison here. So Cloud IDE versus Cloud IDE. And so under here, like Cloud IDE, we have, again, Gitpod. We have Cloud9. We have GitHub Code Spaces. We have, not that it really counts, but I'm gonna give GCP it anyway. Cloud Shell Editor, things like that. Up here we have VS Code, Vim. I don't know if Vim counts as an IDE, but it's code editor for sure. I'll add IDE versus code. I'm terrible at the remaining. versus, oh, code editor. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, because there is a distinction between those. Well, I mean, is VS Code a code editor or an IDE? Because like when I think of an IDE, I think of like Eclipse or JetBrains, and then when I think of a code editor, I think of you know, VS Code or Vim. So that's something that we might want to define here. You're right. So we'll go say, what is a code editor? Okay. And so maybe those are two that we will have here. And actually this is now, because now it is nuanced, but we might go over here and say, because I would do that, I would say those are code editors. And I could be wrong, I might have to do the research on this. Just gonna make sure. Code editor is probably more accurate, VS Code is kind of lighter. So I think that's something we might say like, okay, we're saying that this is an IDE, like we're saying Cloud IDE is our general term, but understand that maybe we're talking about cloud code editors, because sometimes you have to kind of bastardize the term to make it a little bit easier for people. But I would go over here and say like JetBrains, Eclipse. That would be something like, what's the Apple one called? You know, to make the Apple phone things. I think I would know. I used to do it. Xcode. I'm not sure. Like Android Studio, maybe. I don't know. Like, there's probably one called Studio or something like. Visual Studio would be one. Okay, and then over here we'd say like Visual Studio Code. Sublime. Vim. I can't remember anymore. Yeah, Xcode, yeah. I was really slow on that one. And we'll just drag that out. And so that would be something, we might end up having to break these up into two tabs, but we generally have an idea here, okay? So I think that is pretty well defined there. Now, obviously the descriptions need to be filled in. And so we have the benefits. We're gonna go back to our outline here. Notepad, good, sorry, yep. Like, but those aren't really, oh, Notepad++, yeah. I love Notepad++. I used to use another one that was like had a C as the logo, like context or something. I really like that one. I don't know if we count Notepad there, because it's a rich text editor, no? I'm going to put rich text editor in, because I can. Yeah, I never used Ed. Ed's a code editor. I know the name, I just don't. Is that like, is Ed on Linux? Or was it a Windows one? WordPad. Okay. Or is Ed a rich text editor? Well, I'm gonna just put WordPad here. I'm gonna take Ed out because I don't know where it goes. Unless that's the one that's on Linux. WordPad, text editor, text edit. Oh, sorry, Notepad. What the frick is the one called, what is Ed? Let's go over here. Hold on here. Ed editor. I have a feeling that's on Linux. Ah, it is. And it is, oh, it's just a line editor. That goes to show that I don't, you think I would have known that. That's embarrassing. But that's a line editor. That's not necessarily a rich text editor. See, you're getting silly. I mean, I guess so, but it's not really, it doesn't, I don't know if I'd count that. We'll keep it simple, okay? So we got what is a Cloud IDE, the benefits of Cloud IDE. Maybe we'll get to Gitpod here in a second. So I'm going to do this off here. Oh, you can see my 100 Days of Cloud back here. I'm going to get my slides back up. Oh, sorry, my doc out. Where's the doc? And so we have that. Context-based developer workflows. So I think that's something that's really important. I don't know if all the IDEs support it. I'd love to know. I don't know if Lou's still here, but I don't know if like, again, I can't remember because I'm not playing around with the other ones, but like, does GitHub workspaces? It must have context-based stuff. I don't know if they call it the same thing, but we'll go here and we'll say context-based developer workflows, right? And I know I covered context somewhere in this course already, because I might like describe, so here it's like context in GitHub. So a context represents the state of your code in Git source. With a Gitpod URL, you can quickly load the environment for context. Okay, so that's that there. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to just steal my example here, expand on it. So let's just say, what is context in the scope of a developer, developer workload? Still here missing the queue though. I don't understand what the queue, we're talking about queue here. What is context in the scope of a developer workload? Like I'm trying to say like you're working on a project. The workspace and Git context is currently 1-to-1. Oh, okay. Q equals question. Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. So like here I'm trying to say like you are a developer and you're constantly switching context, right, within a project. So, you know, as a developer, I'm gonna just write it out and maybe rework it. So as a developer, you know, as a developer, you need to quickly switch context based on the scope of the current work that you are performing. Okay, so this could be, we'd say like reviewing a pull request, developing a feature, and I know this is not probably the order, pull requests should come later, performing Q&A, manual Q&A, debugging a live bug, or debugging a troubleshooting. So replicating a version of production for debugging. Okay. Creating a temporary environment to evaluate or to test a hypothesis. Can't talk, can't write. So, you know, there's a lot of contexts that we can do with that. And so the idea is like, if you were, and I guess we can address this in the cloud ID, and it's okay if we repeat the same thing over and over again, because if you give it from a different angle, it really does help the person that is learning. So I would just say, like, if you have a context in the scope of the developer workload and it's constantly changing, cloud IDs allow us, so context-based developer workflows. I mean, I guess we're always doing it, but I guess the idea is by adopting a cloud ID, you make a shockingly low amount of typos. I'm surprised considering I don't have Grammarly over here, and the dyslexia is like super strong with me. So, you know, like with a cloud IDE, because I'm trying to define what it is. You know what I mean? Like when we say context-based developer workflows, does that mean exclusively with cloud IDs? That's what I'm trying to tie that to, so people have that kind of mindset. But with a cloud ID as part of the workflow, developers can quickly switch context quickly and safely. Okay. Oh, the word WPM per mistake. Sure. Okay. I mean, I type fast, so it's okay. It's a bit fuzzy. I have to better define it. I feel like a graphic would be really good here. So this is where I would pull out Adobe XD and whip something out. But again, we're trying to get this outline cleared out and say, okay, is this breakdown fair? And then how I'm going to extract out questions. So we have define a cloud ID, define the benefits of utilizing cloud ID, context-based developer workflows, understand the key difference between Gitpods and cloud IDs. For that, where are we here? And now that I'm starting to get this, I can start naming these based on the domain. So I'm going to go up here. We'll rename this over to Cloud IDE Concepts. Okay. And I kind of feel like I need a middle section here. I don't know if I'll tie it into here, so I might just add another one for now. Insert below, and we'll just put like Gitpod basics. Gitpod concepts, maybe. And I'll just like say 5% from this and take this from something like workflows, because I don't know why I think that's 30% of the exam. Like, what am I thinking? So just because I have like a bunch of slides here that are just kind of like loose and related to Gitpods, and maybe they'll get reshuffled here. So we'll just add a new section, and we'll just say Gitpod concepts. And I want this one over, and I mean, you could say that actually belongs there, but we'll move that there. This is the quick starts. Visual Studio Code, I think, is just very important to know because that's really tied well to Gitpod's. Open VS Code server, again, I don't know if that should be there. Maybe because it's so critical, we should give VS Code a VS Code. So we'd say like define what is VS Code. And then under here, I might say like understand key components of VS Code, like settings sync or extensions. And the reason I want to make this call out to this is because like when I was working through my Gitpod YAML file, I was starting to put extensions in there. And then I realized I need to understand what settings syncs is so that I can kind of separate that out. I don't understand what that is because I'm not from the VS Code world. And so to me, that's why it becomes very important to understand that at this Cloud ID concept, even though it's like VS Code specific, you know, it's fair to, I think it's fair to put that there because so many people are using VS Code, right? It's like 90% of the market, something insane. I wrote the statistics here. It's 14 million developers out of 24 million developers. Quoted by Microsoft. I don't know if it's true, but you know, that is something that I think needs to be considered there. Okay. And so what we'll do here is we will go. I feel like my viewer count dropped. I only have one person now. I hope Lou's sticking with me here. So what I'm going to do here is go over and find that settings sync. And whoever's sticking around, you just message so I know who's in the room still here. And I'm going to go over here and drop that on down here. So we have settings sync. That was interesting where we have that add.get Gitpod YAML. That's not specific to this. This is, oh, Lou, you didn't leave me. Great. I don't ever know what FWIW means, but you have VS Code OSS. The Open VS Code server is a fork that's built on top of VS Code OSS. Oh, and then the Open VS Code is used within Gitpod. Okay, so I'll copy this here. And I'm going to dump this here so that I can revisit that information. So we'll go here. VS Code is very popular and easy default. Free, powerful, works on all hardware. Lots of courses and classes, units. Yeah, you're just selling me on the VS Code. So we'll go over to this, and I'm just going to dump that to the side here so I don't forget about it. Some of these I might have to expand into additional slides, but we'll get to there. Okay. So yeah, this was just a thing I found out. That's kind of like a convenience thing. That would be more like workflows maybe. We'll go down here. So we have cloud, Gitpod concepts, default section, integrations, workspaces, Gitpod IO, other, Gitpod cal. So that's more like, this is part of workflows. I'm going to make a new one here called workflows. And I'm going to drag the other to here. We'll get rid of other. Remove section, and there was that loose one that I wanted, which was Gitpod, and I mean that could be like Gitpod context, Gitpod YAML context option. I don't know what you want to call that. But if I go back up to here, I just want to grab that out of there, we'll put that down there. Coming back to our outline here, so Gitpod concepts. Now we've got 5 domains. I really like how Terraform does their exams because they always have at least one question. I think that even though I say there's 55 questions, I think I'll have at least one question per point on these things so that people aren't over-studying things that they don't have to know. Because I think that's always kind of silly. So like define Gitpod, which probably is not a very good question to have, but we'll put that on there. Because we have this, understand the key differences between Gitpod and this. I'm going to bring it down over here. Maybe like Gitpod IO versus Gitpod OSS versus Gitpod Enterprise, maybe? We'll put that there. Integration, so this is like GitHub, GitLab, and I know they all work pretty much the same, but I think that people should go through the experience of doing that. JetBrains, because like a lot of companies use Atlassian because of Jira, And so even if someone's using it in their personal project, I still think they should get experience with the Bitbucket one, because that's going to lean over very well, I think. And yeah, there's not much there, but just to have that confidence there. We have a Chrome extension, and we have the bookmarklet. I don't know if there's any other kind of integrations there. And there's no API, right? Like, is there a Gitpod API? Can I automate yet? I guess the question is, do you need to automate? Because if you're able to just press a button, like, do you even need to automate, really? I have Tailscale in here. It's under, oh, like maybe for this inclusion, actually, you're right. It should be under there too. So if we go to Tailscale, where is it here? This one here. Did I write VPN in here yet? Oh, I wrote it in here. So I don't know, like, should that be under integrations or should it be under workflows? Like, I don't know if that VPN. No public Gitpod API, sadly. Yeah, the question is, do we need an API? I don't know. Like for me as an instructor, it'd be amazing if I could use Gitpods to spin those up for like temporary work environments, but I don't know how that would, if that would even make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason I look at Gitpods or these things, because I'm trying to marry it to like, how do people learn, or do they even need to do that? Maybe they just go press a button, or at least offset the count. So like maybe I'm paying for it. You know, it'd be really nice if there was some way I could pay on the behalf of people that are learning, so that, you know, but the problem is like, how do you lock that down? I don't know. So yeah, I don't know about this one. This one maybe should belong under integration. So I'm going to make a comment on this one. So we'll say new comment. Should this be under integrations instead of workflows? And I guess if you're wondering like why, it's like, it's kind of like what I'm trying to define. Maybe it's because I need to define what these headings mean, eh? Hey, Bart. Yeah, we're totally talking about Cloud9, not about Gitpods. I really like Cloud9. Like, I use it all the time. It's just that for development, I find it like long term, I'm gonna have better success in Gitpod. So that's pretty much it. So maybe it'd be smart to actually define what these domains are so that we can clearly understand what it is. So maybe for, and I think the confusion is between integrations and workflows. So I think this is like things, and I'm going to write this very poorly. So I'm going to just say things that I would want to do, or that doesn't make sense. It has to do with like the life cycle of a developer workflow when working with cloud IDEs or Gitpod in general. Okay, and so that's why I say VPN with Gitpod, right? It's not that hard. It's really nice to use. So like then there's Gitpod integrations, and the idea is like, you know, how Gitpod intersects with third-party services. And so that's a problem where we have this one and it's floating here. So maybe it will end up over integrations, but like, I just want to talk about what that workflow is, because I think that's kind of more important than how it integrates, right? And technically you could say these all have their own workflows, but I kind of feel that they don't really, because these are all pretty much the same, right? And so up here, I might just say like, we'll say like VS integrations. VCS, version control system, that's what that stands for. And I should really not do initialisms. I should always put the full word. Visual, or sorry, what did I say? I just said it, VCS, version control system. Platform integrations, because it's technically, they're not VS, would they be VSCs? VCS, version control services, systems? Because like when you go to Terraform, they just call it version control systems and they refer to those three. But technically, your version control system, I would thought would be the version control software, not necessarily the service. But we're going to do that just to make our lives a lot simpler. What do you want to automate, Andrew? Do you mean like for workflows? Is that why you're thinking like for... I mean, when I say workflows, I don't mean like automation. I just mean like the general work that you're doing. Right? Like as a developer, I'm working through this kind of flow. So I don't know if there's necessarily for Gitpod API. Well, because like I'm a educator, right? So there must be some way like on my teacher sheet, my learning platform, I can spin up temporary environments like staged environments for people to learn, and then somehow tie that bit back in to do a validation check to say, hey, you did this in this Gitpod, and now you pass this on my platform. So that would be kind of the thing like that. Yeah, it's hard, like because Gitpod is not necessarily designed for that use case, right? I'd have to spin up my own VS Code server and create my own plugin. But the idea is to try to take the cost off of the student, right? So like Gitpods is great. I can point them to a repository and say do these things, but I can't validate that they did them, and I can't take the cost off of them. And so those are two things I'm trying to solve. Yeah, because it's just because like if you're working with your company, you would necessarily wouldn't want to do that, right? Well, that's what I'm thinking about doing. I just don't know how to develop it. So I was talking to, I asked this to Pauline. I was saying like, how do I? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, do I make my own plugin? And I think that you can only use certain, like, can you develop your own plugins? I probably would like to put that on here. Like, how do you make a plugin or extension for VS? I know that's more like a VS Code question, but like, can you do that? Or are they like, they're whitelisted by Gitpod? I don't know. I use Gitpod for classes and workshops, and I just sent a repo to them. If you don't have access, it takes 2 seconds to create. Yeah, but remember, I'm doing self-serve, right? I'm not doing, and I need a system that checks. Like it's kind of like sandboxes, but live instruction would be perfect. I think it would work in most cases, but domain 3 or like maybe you could programmatically add them. Like if they have a GitHub account, it's just like, can I add them to my teams really quickly and then remove them at the end or something like that? So, but I'm sure Gitpod has a lot on their plate, so I don't want to overload them with stuff here. So Gitpod configuration. So this would be things around like being able, like configuring how Gitpod starts up or custom images, things like that, I suppose. I don't even think we need a description here. So down here, I just kind of have this because I find that, and this is what I found when I did the Terraform certification, is that they didn't really sell themselves very well on the, does Gitpod integrate with GitHub Classrooms? That's a good question. Well, does GitHub Codespaces integrate with GitHub Classrooms? I don't even know. And that was something that I thought was really cool. But I didn't see like a way for me to author stuff. I thought that was like owned by GitHub, and they managed it. Like it was like closed to me to do something like that. So, but anyway, Gitpod.io, GitHub, Gitpod Enterprise, Gitpod OSS. I did something with GitHub Classrooms. Yeah, well, maybe we just should talk about it sometime. So under here, I'm just kind of like touch on things that, like you probably don't need to know like Gitpod Enterprises, but just in case you do work with an enterprise and you need to convince them, I think that's something that's really important to touch on, or the OSS. So like define the steps of setting up Gitpod on managed cloud. And I don't know if there's like popular providers. I noticed over here, if we go over, is this one? If you go here, there's like self-hosted for all these. So maybe I'll list them out here. So like we have K3S. I still haven't done a Kubernetes course, so my Kubernetes is still pretty weak. But RKE, what the heck is RKE? Yeah, it's just a repo, but yeah, you can make like your own GitHub apps, and so there's probably like a way I could do it that way. Rancher Kubernetes. I like the name. Oh, Rancher, yeah, okay. I've seen this logo before, I just don't remember it. Never used it. Or maybe it's like identify which managed services Gitpod has support for. Obviously, anything that runs Kubernetes. Describe the process to set up Gitpod on a managed service. I don't know what we'd say about Gitpod Enterprise. Let's go down here. I'm going to just copy this here. Lou, how do you feel about like this? Does it seem like does this feel like complete, like at a glance, or am I missing like a major section, you think? Okay, so yeah, like teams and projects is like a Gitpod specific feature. I'd also highlight here that most people should not need to run their own Gitpod thing, and they should use the hosted version. Yeah, of course, right? This is more for like I wouldn't even recommend it, right? I would like there's no reason you'd ever want to do it, but like I feel like I have to touch on it though. Looks pretty good to me. So this is saying is like teams and projects. Is that part of the workflows? Is that part of or is that part of this? Because you really can't use Gitpod without this. I might leave it here for now. I don't know. So, because this is workflows up here. No, I think it should be under here. Teams and projects. I'm going to put it under workflows. Let's just collapse some of these things here. Workflows. We'll drag that up. Fix our name in here. It doesn't ever take me long to make courses. Usually the most time-consuming part is doing the labs. But it just depends on what resources you have available. So this is easy because like so easy to talk to everybody here. So we had this here. Where's my teams and projects? So I'm going to take this and put this up here. So pricing, this is something that I could not clarify. Like I have a bunch of questions on that, and I don't know if they got answered yet. I'm going to go check here. And I wrote them all in the wrong place because like there's more than one support channel, so I got mixed up. So, what did I say? If I'm a large organization, I want to adopt. Oh yeah, so yes, I wanted to know that. That's good. Oh wow, okay, Pauline answered all of them. I'm just dumb. I'd also showcase the debugger in Gitpod. A working debugger is a bigger draw for a lot of developers. The debugger, like there is some kind of special debugger. Gitpod debugger. I don't know if you're saying like debugging or debugger. Or are we just talking like, what are we talking about when we say the debugger? Example marketing. This is like my sample one because I got to get up the new certified cloud practitioner, and so that's my motivation here. It's like the standard debugger, but that's more specific about like that's not Gitpod specific, right? Like just show it off. So what I can do here, we'll go up here. I guess that'd be under workflows. We'll go under there and put that under workflows. Sorry, I always capture the, I know you're all looking at that and looking at the context of what it is, but I kind of forget, like debugger within Gitpod. Gitpod here, okay. And we will take this out. Yeah. Good call. And I really should, because the thing is, I guess these archives, so I don't ever lose them, but I like to get these in here right away. So the first thing I asked was under support. And I was saying like, because I wanted to know if like an enterprise was watching this, I wanted them to know like, okay, like, yeah, the phone number is not for, the individual developer, but if you do get over to, GitHub does not have a paid tier support or toll-free number for direct toll-free number for individuals. However, after contacting enterprises, this level of support and communication may be available per opportunity. I know it's not the best worded there. That's fine. I thought I almost spelled that right. This word I can never spell, individual. Individual. So they don't sound out words. That's my problem here. So that's one that we have solved, which is great. Here's another one. I had to look at your account and think that because you have this a few years ago, apparently it looks like you've been giving Gitpods for 3 years. Back then, the tier included 100 hours, so congrats. Although it looks like it shouldn't be named open source, which is different. So cool, I got the open source plan, nice. And I mean, like, technically, you know, this is going to be free course, so like I will make a GitHub repo for this and .cancan. She's probably the best person to answer this because there's a new plan, or there's a plan that's not well defined here for teams, and I'm not sure what the difference is. I imagine it's like you get to pay on behalf of the company for somebody else. I really hope I have water here. And so that's something that we're still getting clarification on, you know, because again, like I know a lot of enterprises, so I want them to know like why, you know, how to buy, right, to help out here. Let's see here. What is here? We're trying out running workspaces. I could see the other person typing. Currently see. It's like visibility. If you're using a Gitpod workspace, how do you know if somebody's using it or not? So this isn't currently visible. The only way to know if someone is in your workspace is if you see them type. When you share a link, you should only share it with people you trust. That's true. Yep. There's still a long way. Okay. And I mean, it's fair. They just have something working. But right now, it's like if you use Gitpods with somebody else, you have no idea if like who's using it. Like I could give a link out to somebody and they could give it to somebody else and we'd have no visibility on that. So like right now, my strong recommendation is do not use this feature unless, right? Unless it's your buddy, you know, you work with them and it's not serious stuff. But you know, it's just gonna take time. They'll get it eventually. It's not like an easy feature to develop, but there is definitely a lack of visibility here. And these slides, I can probably make them available. It's just like the permissions here in Teams is always really annoying. So this is something that I'm still trying to figure out better. Like, I don't know how to make this link settings. Anyone with a link. See, like it's grayed out. So it's my organizational stuff. So I'd have to go talk to Baco and say, Baco, why can't I share this? And he'd have to fiddle around settings. I like to do this. I like Google Slides, but like I can't embed SVGs, and that's why I don't use Google Slides anymore. I used Teams in the past, and yep, one invoice for the whole company was a big help. No idea if the plan has any other features though. Okay, so I'm just going to make another slide here for team pricing. And I'm just going to go here, take out these comments because these are not relevant to this one. Delete, delete, delete. An org pays for, you know, I would assume like there would be Rabec controls, right? That's usually what I would expect. Maybe it's just not there yet. Teams Editions was the first step towards better, more granular access controls for sharing features. 100% it will be improved for the future. Yeah. Exports SVGs to PDF and embed the PDF. That is the trick I use for Keynote. Yeah. Export SVG to PDF. Oh. I don't know if that would work with Google Sheets. Google Sheets is like really simple. Like they don't let you do much. And that's, but anyway, like this is part of my flow now because I use Teams and everything, so that's not going anywhere. But I'll have to do that because I like to, if people want to comment and stuff, I don't mind on the slides. It doesn't matter to me, or if they want to fix my spelling mistakes. So we'll get back to the outline here. Okay, so Gitpod CLI, VPN with Gitpod, Gitpod Workspace and Desktop IDE, Teams and Projects. I mean, I wonder if I should make a point where, and this is always something like there is no Gitpod API, so I don't know if I should make a slide and say there isn't one right now. You know what I mean? You could probably, there's probably a way you could trick automating it, because if you were to, no, probably not. I was just trying to think of like a hack. It's probably not a good idea. Rbac is done on the GitHub side. That's true. So, and that might be something we mention in, we probably should mention Rbac. Rbac is role-based access controls is part of the VSC provider. I'm just going to make a note for that. But we'd have to do that in the integration sections here. So I'll just expand this up here. Trying to get all my domains here. So this is the first one. Okay. So we will rename that. And this is our second domain. I still don't know if this second domain is useful or not, but we'll find out as we go here. Domain 2. We have integrations. That's 3 now. I would say like I like that there's teams and projects, but there's still not like this kind of controls that I would like to manage my team yet. But that's just that. I think we'll get there eventually though. This is 1, 2. The numbering has to be bumped up over 3, 4. Next time I do, because I'll do more than one of these live streams. Next time I'll make sure that these resources are accessible by anybody that's watching. Yeah, I was wondering about the auth N, auth Z stuff. Yeah. If you go over to, actually it's in, I think I already have one tab open here if I can find it. Yeah, if you go here and you go to access controls, it just shows up integrations. And so from here, you just go here, right? And sometimes you have to re-grant some stuff because some repos I didn't have. So I went here. I guess it's all here. Yeah, so like here I had to like grant some additional things. But I guess it would be all through that. Well, what I wanted to say, bye Vlad. What I really wanted to say was that I think that I would love to see Gitpod integrate with code commit. Like, and I know that sounds like almost impossible, but I have a feeling that it is possible some way. Like it doesn't have like this kind of auth stuff here, but there probably is some kind of integrations that could happen. But like code commit just makes things so much easier and safer. And it's also, I don't know. I just wish Gitpod integrated with code commit, but I also kind of wish that code commit integrated with Cloud9 the way that Gitpod integrates with GitHub. So maybe when I'm at re:Invent, I'll whisper that idea in a few people's ears. Okay. But anyway, we'll come back over to our outline, and I think I'm gonna wrap this up in 15 minutes because my voice is getting a bit strained here. I can only talk for so long, and then I'll have to just quietly work on this, but. I think I have to put up some marketing pages for Exam Pro for the Certified Cloud Practitioner, which by the way is amazing. I did such a good job on that. I probably overdid it. So we have integrations, workspaces. Did I make a separate one for workspaces? I don't. I'm just trying to think. Did I put it up here? I don't. Because there's a lot going on with workspaces. So I don't know, like, should this be... Because this is like sharing, and that's kind of like part of workflows, I would say. So would workspaces be part of workflows? I'm going to, I know code commit is used as a backup DER. That's a good point. Yeah, it's always fun to have Bart around. 13 hours is, hey Bart, do you want to do a Twitter space for during re:Invent? I'm going to be doing a Twitter space like every single day because I feel like we need to bridge the people that can't come. It's unfair if I don't do that, even though I'll be there. Do you record it in one big take, or how long did it take you to record that? I used to record, I used to prep all my content and then just sit down and record all my stuff, right? And so I would record for 8 hours a day. I can't do that anymore because I have to really protect my voice. And so now I just kind of like prep and then film and then prep and then film. Yeah, usually it's just, I just record it all in one go. But oh yeah, how long did it take to record? So when I recorded the Certified Cloud Practitioner, I recorded it over 4 days. Usually I would record it in 1 or 2 days, like a 13-hour course, but I did this one over four days. The course took a long time just because I was doing the Twitter spaces and I don't know, I was just busy. Oh, and I guess I had to deal with all the like changes in the like AWS changed like everything that I remember in AWS, because like, you know, I was away doing GCP and I came back. It was like everything changed. It was just like I went to launch a load scaling group or load balancer. That was different. I wanted to launch Elastic Beanstalk. That was different. It's just like every time I turn my back, it changes. And so every time I'm recording something, even though I've done it like 100 times, it feels like the first time because they always change the IDE on, or the UI on me there. But that's just how it is. That's just the cloud, right? Yeah, that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to do that. Be a good opportunity. I don't know. Did you say you were coming to reInvent, or are you doing it remote? Not all AWS employees get to go to reInvent. Sometimes they have to keep a skeleton crew back to protect the servers, so to speak. So I always think that's kind of interesting. But so yeah, I'm gonna put all this workflow stuff under workspaces. Will be the workflows. So I'll go here. And this will just be kind of like a subsection, I guess. So we'll say domain for Gitpod. I wish I could put sections and sections. You can't, though. Gitpod workflows. Workspaces. Cool. Let's see here. So, because my goal really is just kind of get this rounded out here and get these percentages fair. Define Gitpod IO, Gitpod OSS, that's fine. Workflows. So Gitpod CLI, VPN with Gitpod, Gitpod Workspaces. This is just going to be Gitpod Workspaces in general. And that probably is going to be at the top here because basically everything is reliant on that. And so we have defined the use cases for... See, this might not be the right... See, this is like already being kind of defined up here in the main concepts, like the benefits here. So I don't think I really have to describe... Oh, right, pair programming. That's probably a thing that I should have put in the example here. Like, I don't know how you'd say, like... I'm just going to put collaboration. Real-time collaboration. It's not always a feature, but sometimes it's there. Oh, you made the cut. I'm glad to hear that. It's going to be really tricky getting over the border for me. I might have to like take a... I don't know if I have to take like a test going in and a test coming out, and this should be crazy. Start multiple workspaces in parallel. I mean, that's kind of evident from the other thing. Gitpod versus local development. We already covered that with the IDE. So I don't need this slide. This slide's not needed. So there's workspace timeout. So the timeout's important. The ephemeral storage is important. Garbage collection. I kind of want those as points. No, thanks for coming out. And just so you know, Lou, it's going to go on for another 10 minutes here, and then I'm going to wrap up. And we'll do another one tomorrow. Okay, so Gitpod workflows. Oh, this is workspaces. So we have timeouts. And I have to upgrade my account to like Unleash, because if I don't, I can't evaluate all these features for the tutorial. So, because I haven't got to try out the advanced timeout yet. Garbage collection, I think, is important. Oh yeah, the workspace directory. There's not really much to talk about there other than there's a directory there. Yeah, it'd be nice, just because like I just want to do it so I can evaluate whatever I need to video tutorialize it. And the other thing is like I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know if I would need a downgrade to show some stuff, but you know, if you can, that'd be appreciated. I don't have crazy workloads here. I just kind of want to show off the features, right? Oh yeah, my so Bako, who I work with, he's like, what's stopping somebody from using the free tier to mine? I was like, I guess you could be malicious, but I never even thought of that. I had a slide here that I found out about the actual capacity. I don't mind stuff. I'm not going to do that if you give me Unleashed, just so you know. But there was something about, where did I put this under? Defaults, pre-builds. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about pre-builds. So pre-builds feel like something that should be in, I don't know, we'll come back to that. Environments, custom Docker image. There was one about like the size of the instance. What did I call this? Where the heck is it? Underlying Gitpod resource size. So I don't know if this is in flux. I think I read this on a community Gitpod, so in the discourse. And so this is the general size of it, because my co-founder was asking like how powerful are these things, and I was like, I don't know. So there's that. I guess you don't really need to change the different sizes. Like if we go over to GitHub, I'm just going to go look at theirs as a comparison. I just want to know if there's like a unique reason, like maybe they're running like ML stuff or something. GitHub Codespace's pricing. But to be fair, if like you are using something for ML, then you probably wouldn't be using this in general. I mean, I guess you could tie it over, but you go down here. Where's their pricing on this stupid thing? Because I want to see like the instance sizes. Oh, I guess it was just like this. Like so, you have like 2 core, 64 core, but like in reality, like why would you ever need this? Like why would you ever need to go to 32 core? And I like, even if you did that, you need like specialized workloads, and like you can't really choose what you want. So another saying under 10 seconds here. I think Gitpod, so it's Gitpod versus, let's see what they say on the marketing page. If it's wrong, I don't care. So here they say, oh, I wonder if it's a lie though. I wonder who's lying. GitHub pricing, let's go back here. If we were trying to mine for free tier SaaS, there will be more free tier SaaS. Okay. Oh, I want to go back to that pricing page I was just on here. So if you go here, it says it spins under 10 seconds. And then here, but I guess the thing is, it's not necessarily about how fast the baseline VM spins up. It's the fact that you have to build something. That's where pre-builds come into play, right? So because this is talking about the project build. So, you know, this could be really fast to load, but there's still the project build. And so maybe the project build is slower. I don't know. I'd have to test this out. I'm probably not. I'm just going to go with what Gitpod says. Okay. Because there's the smaller startup. I'd rather go with them. But, you know, that's something there. So I'm going to go back over to here. 5 more minutes, and then we'll wrap up here for another day. I think it's important that people should understand the compute power under here. This is technically the workspace. So I'd go here. And put this here, somewhere here. That, or I might end up pulling it, like this Gitpod concepts is very minimal. What the heck, am I missing one? I am. I'm missing a domain. This is supposed to be Gitpod concepts. The graphic is more concerned with the pre-builds. Yeah. Well, it's marketing. What do you want from it? It's not a big deal. Okay, so we'll update that. I feel like this is still not really well defined. So what do I want to do with this section? So I have pricing, I have team pricing, I have self-hosted. I talk about the support stuff, which is important. Just seeing the self-hosted thing. Gitpod OSS allows organizations to self-host on their own Gitpod platform. That's what I call it. Gitpod is built on top of these. Self-hosted. I guess this would be like the process of self-hosting. So general process to self-host. Like not show them. I might actually make a video. I might try to self-host it just to show people. I don't know how hard it is. If it becomes too hard, I might roll back on that. But the idea is just to say like, okay, I'm not going to show you every single step. I'm going to show you generally what are the steps. Like, how do I do it, right? Generally. And there might already be tutorials on that. Let's go take a look. Self-hosted. Like, I don't think anyone should be self-hosting, but you know how some organizations are. So take a look here. I haven't even looked at this yet. It doesn't really matter which one. Yeah, I guess you could do it on your own. So we'll go here. There's not one for Ranger yet, I guess, or K3's in here. Installation instructions are currently located at this guide here. So you need a load balancer, a relational database, auto-scaling groups, Docker registry, S3. I don't know what all these are, but I'm assuming there's something related to Kubernetes. Okay, let's just take a look at the other two. I'm just wondering how much it varies between each one. So load balancer, relational database, some zoning here, same stuff, cloud storage, so it's the same thing. Let's go take a look at one more here. AKS, load balancer, zoning, container registry, storage gateway, so cloud storage, same stuff. Did the other ones have container registries, or was it just this one? Docker registry. This one is this going to be the AWS? This is the Docker registry. Okay, so generally it looks like you need a load balancer. You're going to need some kind of cloud storage. You're going to have to source it from some container repository. I'm not saying Docker repository. It probably is Docker repository, but that we need to obviously run managed Kubernetes. Probably need like zoning, domain zoning here. Because then what I can do is kind of make this kind of like a flow graphic so you kind of understand the components involved. Let's go back at EKS here. It doesn't sound complicated, but I'm sure it's not fun to do. So there's that. Describe the process to set up Gitpod on a self-hosted managed service. So we have pricing, support, let's say individual, team pricing, support, maybe like enterprise licensing. I wonder if there's like anything else I'm missing from there. I mean, there's things about like the Gitpod OSS project, so I'm like, is there things I should be pointing people at that project to make them understand, like Gitpod OSS autonomy, anatomy, autonomy, I don't know, that of Gitpod OSS project. So, and when I'm saying that, I'm just thinking like, okay, I'm going to go over to Gitpod GitHub and just talk about this ecosystem a bit. Maybe there's some kind of like something that's going on here, like what is this based off of, things like that. I might have addressed this earlier. Sometimes happens where this takes time to load in. So there could be a bit more here that I want to talk about. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like there's these things. I don't know what those are. Like maybe how it's built. Like here it says experimental Docker image builder. During the development of Gitpod was also developed some of our own infrastructure tooling development, easier efficiency to end the development. So maybe talk a little bit about this. Not necessarily show people how to do it, but just kind of understand, like if you did want to get kind of into this part, can encourage people over here. You know, maybe look at the code a little bit. I don't know. Maybe talk about the licensing. I don't understand. There's two different licenses here, AGPL and MIT. I've never seen two. That's kind of interesting, eh? I didn't read the security one. We appreciate your efforts to responsibly disclose your findings. Oh, this is a good one. I should have this in here. Security folk love it when you put this stuff in. Okay, so security disclosure page. I don't know what they call this usually. Okay, we'll go to the Gitpod page here. We'll wrap up in one more minute. I know I said it at 5 minutes, but I lied. Okay. And where's the security page here? So this is something I really should have covered more. Security vulnerability disclosure policy. That's what I was looking for. And I think what we'll do is, whoops, I don't like the look of that. So we'll say security vulnerability disclosure policy. That looks good. Can't spell to save my life. And I'm going to go grab this here, this report, which is here, right? And I'll grab this. I think we should just have one on security in general. We'll put it in here because that's something that's really important, I think, because if we're talking about enterprises, self-hosting, stuff like this is where this kind of comes into play, so that becomes important. So, oh yeah, and that's what I was actually wondering that it is, like, what compliances do they have? Compliance, environment, isolation, because like it's running somewhere else, right? So it's like open source. I'm not sure how that plays into security, but I'll have to read about that. Authentication and authorization. I'm going to keep that one separate because that's important. I don't know if I'll break these up into more. The security section, I like to always have a lot of stuff there. But I think that's about it for now. For those who join me, thank you for all the help. I'm going to probably do this again tomorrow. I really want to get this course out before I go to reInvent, or at least have it all drafted and stuff like that. I will definitely be opening this up more to the community, so I will start writing some sample questions of what I want to put on this exam, and just have more discussion around the outline and stuff like that, and make sure that it is a good fit. Because the goal of this is that, you know, if somebody takes this, that they can reasonably prove that they can work with this stuff. And I think a lot of companies are interested in these workflows, and you know, it'd be nice if people send the resume like, I know Gitpod's inside and out, so I can be productive, right? Yeah, thanks for everybody coming, and I'll see you tomorrow.